Bonsoir fellow mini enthusiasts! Let's take a look at the new Armageddon box with an artist eye and compare the lore and the design to answer our favorite question.
Does the mini tell the story?
I told you I wanted a jingle. I even tried singing it, but yeah, I couldn't handle the cringe, so... But hey, nothing like professional help. A big thank you to Jingle Crafters, saving you all from the cringe. Anyway, because this box opposes two very beloved factions of Warhammer 40k, let's add a twist and make them compete with one another. The matchup will be as follows, and we'll keep the score. Let's see whose designs are the best and whether you agree with my very subjective opinions. First matchup, Captain with Relic Shield versus Warboss, the battle of the leaders. Let's start with the Captain. First, the lore. It's a Captain Gobelin Gang, la crème de la crème of Space Marines. He called dibs on the best gears, leads from the front, and he's here to play a full-on muso. There will be orc bits flying everywhere, unless you roll only ones. So, with all that epicness, does the mini tell the story? Maybe. If I had never seen another Space Marine captain, yeah, I'd be impressed. He looks like an elite warrior, the silhouette is strong, the pose is dynamic, the sculpt is clean and there are a lot of fun details. The Operation Imperator badge, purity seals everywhere, very pretty armor trims. And I love the gladiator look, but it is very cluttered. That dagger, why is it here? Put it on the other side so we can actually see the Terrage skirt. And, you know, paint it. Same problem with these ropes. I painted a lot of Space Marine with these and I hate them, especially you damn Aquila hider. That's one of the reasons I hate capes, I think. And yes, I am very happy we get a helmet option with a panache. Even if all my French friends call it a toilet brush. Yeah, you know who you are. So what's the problem here? Because right now you might be thinking, wait, this sounds like a very good mini. Well, call me greedy if you want, but hear me out. Look at these two other captains from the Indomitus and Leviathan box. First thing, that shield is a clear downgrade. Now I know that some countries do not allow human skeleton imagery, but come on, you can give me something just as cool, right? Then the tactical rock. I don't mind the new spiky rocks, that's clearly the Armageddon vibe. But where's the dead orc Gobelin Gang? Look, his buddy got a Tyrannid and this one got a Necron. This is just an old skull, he didn't kill that. So, is this a bad mini? No. But if I were him, I would be mad. My man got robbed. Also, I really thought that this screen was what they go for, but alright. Now his opponent, the Warboss. What's his deal? Well, it's a Warboss Gobelin Gang. La crème de la crème of orcs. He calls dibs on the best gear, leads from the front, and he's here to play a full-on muso. There will be beaky bits flying everywhere unless you roll only once. Sounds similar, right? It should. So, does the mini tell the story? Heck yeah! This angle, not doing him any favors. His feet are completely hidden behind the weapon, and when you do look at them, why is he balancing on the tiniest spiky rock ever? This guy looks heavy, like Crump Your Skull with his pinky heavy. And that's where he plants his foot? Okay. But otherwise, this mini look amazing. I don't know who decided to use huge cable for the orcs in this box, but bravo! It works so well and delivers unique and exciting silhouettes. The pose is super dynamic too. You can feel the cramping coming. The amount of tiny detail is insane. The weapons are pure ORKY energy. That fuel canister on his back with the long cable? How does it work? No idea. Should it work? Probably not. Is it fun and do I love it? Yes. The helmet and banner might be a bit too old school for my taste. Very World of Warcraft vibes, but honestly a lot of people are going to love that. So, who's get the better design between the captain and the Warboss? For the same kind of lore, I think the Warboss brings more to the table. First point goes to the Orks, but honestly, both of them should team up and go complain to Games Workshop about their boring tactical rocks. Next matchup, Landspeeder versus Big Mech Dakkarig, a mechanical duo. So, What's a land speeder? It's one of the fastest war machines available to the Adeptus Astartes. This flying gun platform zooms the battlefield to rake infantry and vehicles alike. You've got two options: onslaught Gatling cannon or a heavy flamer, and on top, a multi-melta and missiles. This thing is adaptable, fast, and can either strike up close or deliver death from afar. So, with all that speed and firepower, does the Mini tell the story? The Mini tells me they're about to die. Yeah, if you watch my flop 3, you already know. I don't like this model. Let's address the elephant in the room, the base. Now I know that this one is optional, but come on! They only said that in the stream because they knew. This sculpt looks like the land speeder just dropped one like an overgrown seagull. I will be a certified hater of shaving cream smoke until they stop doing it. No. Is it enough to hate a Mini? No, of course not. And I'll be honest, this opinion is more subjective than usual, because why are they not more protected? You're telling me Orks care more about not being shot than Space Marines? Huh? Also, the silhouette does not scream super fast to me. I don't feel like, oh yeah, this thing can definitely dodge incoming fire. I mean, did you see what happened to them in the trailer? But lore says you can, and sometimes should, get in close range. But there is nothing protecting the crew. This does not count, alright? And the rail guard is just gone? Takatachi's level of safety, jeez. I would definitely not sacrifice my super soldiers like that. Throw on the Armageddon's economy is ruining everything, right? Maybe that's just me. Alright, let's see its opponent. What's a big mech Dakkarig? It's the latest killy invention of a big mech. Basically, it's a death dread, but with less cramping and a lot more shooting. And here's the scary part, the big mech inside is actually accurate. Well, when the thing is properly braced anyway. That massive blitz cannon, anything small enough gets crumpled real good. And for anything bigger, no problem. You've got rockets strapped to the front, because of course you do. But most surprising, it's also got a custom force field, in case the pickies try to shoot back. So, does the Mini tell the story? Absolutely. And Games Workshop made sure the trailer sells it really well too. The silhouette of the Dakkarig alone tells you everything. That thing looks heavy, a bit clumsy and dead killy. Exactly what I want from an ORKY gun platform. Big, loud and a tad ridiculous. Perfect. And the details, they're everywhere. This is one of those Mini when you can really flex your painting skills. Now let's talk about the weird part. It has a custom force field. And I actually love that. It leans into that cunning side of Gork and Mork. Like, yeah, it's brutal, but it's also planning a little. And then we have to compare it to the land speeder, and suddenly something feels very strange. The Ork machine is better protected. I cannot be the only one bothered by the Orks being safer than Space Marines. So you know what? The point goes to the Ork because of safety. Whoa, that's a sentence I never thought I'd ever pronounce. Next matchup, Vanguard Veteran versus Bigboss. Elite team versus elite character. Alright, what's the story of our veteran? These are specialists in close combat and jump pack warfare. You'll see them launching from gunship or dropping straight onto their enemies without hesitation. Their charges are devastating. With their glorious proficiency in their master-crafted power weapons, they'll easily carve through the toughest opponent to reach their high-value targets. Each warrior proudly bears the Crux Terminatus on their right shoulder pad and the Operation Imperator campaign badge on their left vambrace. So, with all that experience and elite status, does the Mini tell the story? Technically yes, the silhouettes are fine, the poses are acceptable, except this one, because Dominion Zephon does the same pose but better. It's more exaggerated, which make it easier to read. Also, if you remove the Crux Terminatus and the campaign badge, I would not know those are veterans. To me, they are just fancier intercessors with jump pack. And where is the flair? Hello? I'm not saying they all need incredible poses, but where's the personality? Where's the swagger? Where's the guy with the same level of sass as these two Blade Guard veterans? Wait, did they get robbed of their spiky trim too? Welp. But seriously, was it that hard to give them a pose that actually tell their story? Have one tears an orc banner apart, strangle a grot, or dare I say, kick a squig? Yes, I know, I'm a monster, but at least that would be interesting, right? We would feel something. Yeah, I deserved that. Let's calm down and talk about their opponent. The Bigboss. What's his deal? He's the second biggest, strongest, and toughest orc around. Which makes sense, he's the second in command. The Bigboss makes the other orcs stronger, because he has to prove he can replace the Warboss when this git eventually gets crumpled. He's specialized in close combat, namely crumping enemy champions with his trusty two-handed big chopper. Also, he has a tiny squig, and I love tiny squigs. So, does the mini tell the story? Okay, adorable tiny squig aside, yeah, it absolutely does. This one is very Warcraft coded too, right? The silhouette, the pose, it feels nostalgic. And wait, is that a custom tactical rock? Praise Gork and Mork, it can be done. Why him specifically? No idea. But honestly, maybe he deserved to be the Warboss already. I love the more barbaric banner. I just wish we knew what kind of squig all these horns come from. Have you noticed this banner is more securely attached than the guys in the land speeder? Yes, I'm a troll, sorry. The level of details is so exciting. Look at the tiny cable behind that chopper. There's so much going on, but it doesn't feel too cluttered or annoying to paint. If I had to complain about something, it's the loincloth here, with the old beaky helmet. I like the idea, but it's a bit hard to read. But honestly, this mini is amazing. If we compare it to the Vanguard or even the Captain, I think he deserved the point for personality. What? You think I gave him the win because of the tiny squig? Alright, maybe a little. Our next fight opposes two war connoisseurs, the Librarian and the Weirdboy. Librarians, yes. Librarians, with their ironclad will and masterful control of the warp, are amongst the best protection you can have against the vile influence of the Immaterium. Armed with nothing but their mental fortress and their force staff, they can unleash psychic devastation on heretics and Xenos alike, while shielding their allies from harm. So with all that raw psychic power, does the mini tell the story? Yes! I believe the Librarians is one of, if not the Space Marine in the box with the most personality. The pose feels powerful. The silhouette, it screams Psyker. You instantly know there is something akin to magic at play here. Even the tactical rock works here. That upward curve, it feels like the staff is pulling everything towards it, like it's a new center of gravity. Talking about the staff, it looks amazing with this superb trim here. Same for the armors, whose beautiful carvings are a very nice callback to the Terminator Librarians. Also, we have a helmet option, and you all know that makes me so happy. The extra cloth is a nice touch. Yes, I am still a cape hater, but here it works. Mage adjacent characters love their capes. It will make this book ridiculously hard to paint though, but it's a small complaint. Another one is, I understand the idea of visual callbacks, but why are those two decorations exactly the same? That feels a bit odd and I cannot find a good reason for it. But alright, let's see its opponent. First, Weirdboy lore.
Oi, I can tell me own story you get.
Dude, I need to explain your warp powers.
Warp, dead easy. It just gawk and more cramping about. Raw power. Mix it do zappy beats, big booms, and melt a beaky like that.
That looks dangerous.
Nah, sometimes me heads go boom, and all that gets nearby go pop too. But booms is always fun to watch.
Right, and all that stuff on your head?
All them beats and bob, they help me control me wah, I think. Oi, who gives a squeak if it works? Long as it looks dead killy.
Yeah, let me get a new one. There. So, does the mini tell the story? Yes, it really does. Look at that silhouette, completely unhinged, perfect for a Weirdboy. This level of detail, painters are gonna go crazy with OSL on this guy. And the staff, a twisted ORKY take on a Space Marine Librarian weapon. Love it. This was the older one. The spirit is still there, but that's a big win. I don't mind losing the visible brain, but yeah, I miss the big tire. And he lost his little buddy.
I'm Mr. Lonely.
Now, is it buzzy? Yes. Fragile? Oh yeah. Finger stabbing experience? Yep, 100%. But honestly, Gobelin Gang, that's kinda lore friendly, isn't it? No, compared to the Librarian, one bases mastery on precise discipline control, the other on completely unhinged chaos, and honestly, both tell their story perfectly and look amazing, so this time, I'm calling it a draw. Alright, next versus Chaplain with Jump Pack versus Painboy, the battle of supports. No, Chaplain lore is pretty thin here, but honestly we don't need much. He's here to deliver an empowering speech and then immediately follow it up by smashing the Emperor's enemies with his Crozius, oil fueled by righteous fury. And the jump pack, that just speeds up the process by turning it into a devastating charge. So with all that zeal and violence, does the mini tell the story? Yeah, it does, but I think it could do it better. Gobelin Gang, we can all agree that Chaplain are just cool, right? On bike or on foot, it doesn't matter. That skull helmet is an absolute fashion statement. And this one, with the sculpted Aquila, yeah, that's a win. And if you use a bare head Chaplain, we just cannot vibe, I'm sorry. All the classic details here are super clean. This Crozius Arcanum is a perfect mix of holy symbol and pure violence. He's got the tome, the purity seals, skulls everywhere. The Rosarius on the arm looks amazing, but good luck painting that. Get your nail art brush ready. The gun is also super nice, so teeny tiny skull, I love them. Wait, is that a unique jump pack? Huge win there. But yeah, that's where it stops, because that smoke, nope. That's shaving cream again. It's giving me Caradron flashbacks. GW needs a new sculpting method for this. And the base? Come on guys, Armageddon's not covered with just spiky rocks, right? There's definitely random junk everywhere. Give me other debris please, I'm getting bored. And quick edit here, because I cannot wrap my head around this. Look at the trailer. The mini was right there, in this exact frame. You already have the Dakkarig model Games Workshop. Just take the Blitz Cannon and put the Chaplain on top of it. I mean, I'm doing that for my own Chaplain. How could I not? Also, the Purity Seal loincloth thing, you know what that does. We talked about this already. It kills the silhouette every time. Put Sue's Purity Seal somewhere else. Unless you're fighting Slanesh, then okay,
Nope.
fair I guess. Overall, it's an okay mini, but I have one final complaint. I know it's a neutral Chaplain, but you tease me with the Blood Angels and give me no wings? Even Angel can't afford wings nowadays? Throne damn this Armageddon economy. Bon sang. Alright, let's see what his opponent has to offer. The Painboy. Orks are infamous for their resilience, but sometimes they get crumped so badly even they need fixing. That's where the Painboys come in. These mad scientist doctors probably kill as many orks as they save. But hey, if you can staple an arm or a head back on, that's good enough for most orks. So with all that questionable medicine, does the mini tell the story? The Painboy really impresses me. This is so clean design-wise, and it's a really smart callback to the 2015 Painboy. Now, I've seen people say the 2021 version, the Painboss, was more creative, but I've got two words for you, silhouette and pose, and both are masterfully executed here. I cannot believe how easily this mini reads. I love the mockery of classical surgeon garments and tools. Look at how uncanny these self-grafted hooks look. almost like raptor claws. These masks are basically useless. This weird light probably does not help him see much. He has clearly stitched his own arm back on, replaced his own leg, and his tiny assistant is completely dwarfed by that massive, filthy bonzo. But the true highlight of this mini, definitely this rusty needle. Ugh, with a beautiful use of this cable to make sure our eyes are drawn to it, no matter what. Like I can almost feel the medical torture. But honestly, this is a wonderful miniature. So, the Chaplain focus on the mind, the Painboy on the body. They both tell their story well, so this is a close fight. And again, they should both complain to Games Workshop about their boring bases, but in the end, the Painboy has the stronger pose and the more striking personality. The point goes to the Orks. Alright, time for some heavy shooting again. The Eradicator squad versus the Wartrakk. Tanking versus speed, but both dead killy. First, the Eradicator squad with heavy bolter. What a mouthful. Their MKX Gravis armor turns them into walking tanks. These guys carry heavy weapons as casually as we hobbyists carry a paintbrush. And instead of Melta rifles, these Eradicators swap to heavy bolters to curl the green tide more efficiently. So with all that heavy firepower, does the mini tell the story? Kinda? I really like heavy bolters. These weapons always feel incredibly powerful in games, so I was excited to see them return. And these Eradicators do feel heavy and destructive, the silhouettes are bulky, the poses feel grounded, you can feel the weight. There's also some really nice little details. The bullet casing here clearly shows this guy is firing like right now. And I love that adjustable metallic handle on top of the bolter. It's such a tiny details, but it makes the weapon feel believable. However, Gobelin Gang, this mini also have a very weird vibe. Let me explain. First, this tiny metallic shield. I am not convinced. It's not especially interesting visually, and there is no universe where this thing actually protects them. It's barely bigger than the gun itself. I know it's probably a callback to the Company Heroes heavy bolters, but there at least the handle and the purity seal made it feel more special. But what bothers me the most is... Tell me, did you also notice something is missing? Look again. Isn't this thing supposed to connect to the backpack? Did you guys forget the power source? I am so sorry, dear No Ammo Arnold. I understand now. You had no choice but to use your tiny gun. Alright, bullying Arnold aside, let's see his opponent. The Wartrakk. The mechs worked hard to upgrade the Orks' beloved Wartrakk. These fast, lightly armored vehicles are now equipped with rockets. They zoom across the battlefield with questionable aim, trying to distract the enemy long enough to charge in and cramp them with their choppers. So, with all that speed-freak chaos, does the mini tell the story? Yeah, definitely. The only thing that slightly hurts the design, again, is the speed factor. The silhouette feels a bit too bulky for something supposedly super fast. In my eyes anyway. But aside from that, this thing looks fun. Look at the driver! My guy is having the time of his life. And compared to the older model, this is a massive improvement. Also, once painted red, as Gork and Moke intended, the shapes and details read much better. And here again, the details are everywhere. This thing is going to take forever to paint, but in the best way, of course. Also, look at that! This boy remembered the power source for his weapon. Crazy concept, right? So, in this matchup, the point goes to the Orks again. The Eradicator have a solid presence, but unfortunately they just did not fully convince me. The next matchup is basically a banner duel. Ancien versus Bannernob. First, the ancient lore. And honestly, we don't need much here. He's here to inspire the Angels of Death to fight even harder. Under the banner's radiant gaze, they will not allow the aliens... Wait, aliens? Not Xenos?
Huh?
Ooh, I'm calling the Inquisition here. Anyway, they will make sure to bring the Emperor's ire to every Xenos and heretic trying to claim even a scrap of Armageddon. So, does the mini tell the story? Yes, throwing that banner is beautiful. Look at all those sculpted details. According to the article, even the word Armageddon is actually carved on there. And the center section is specifically designed so you can add the decal of your favorite Space Marine chapter. That's a really nice touch. This thing is going to be an absolute blast to paint, and the Ancient himself also very solid. The pose feels conquering, and the silhouette is very clean and coherent. The extra cloth and decorations give him a solemn, ceremonial look, exactly what I expect from an Ancient. His weapon is a little bland, but honestly that me being a brat. However, where is your purity seal, kind sir? Does it still count if the purity seal is on the banner instead of on you directly? You're getting suspicious. I'm snitching to your chaplain. Now let's see his opponent, the Bannernob. And unlike the Ancient, the Bannernob had to beat the competition to earn this job. And now he has to keep cramping to prove he still deserves it. His banner rallies the Orks and makes sure they keep charging happily toward the nearest enemy. So, does the mini tell the story? Yeah, absolutely. And once again, that banner is dead killy. I love the pseudo-shamanic look with the totem head on top. The mix of organic horns and metal works really well. There are skulls, stitches, trims, even a bit of tearing at the bottom. And once again, there's a dedicated spot for your army decal. Neat! My only nitpick, it's almost too clean for the Orks. But honestly, even I know I'm being a greedy goblin here, because look at the Bannernob himself! He has this very old school vibe that reminds me of Dawn of War 2. He looks ready to crump anyone getting close to his banner, friends or foe. The Choppa looks great, the Dakka strapped on the back is fun, and once again we have the famous spiky tactical rocks. And yes, you and I both know he gets bonus points. Firstly, for this amazing hair squig of course, look at those tiny teeth! And secondly, this even more adorable tiny squig right here. My guy has 2 squigs! He's making a name for himself. Squig and Purity Seal jokes aside, both mini do their job extremely well. Yes, I think the Bannernob has more personality overall, but that's not the only thing that matters. An Ancient should feel more reserved, more ceremonial. I mean, Astartes are basically brainwashed super soldier, personality is almost heretical here. So honestly, this one is a draw, because both mini tell their story at a single glance. Alright, this is our last versus. Let's oppose some battle line units. Intercessor Squad versus Boyz. Let's start with our Angel of Death. And damn, that retro look is clean. There's just one tiny thing that's bothering me, but let's start with the lore. No more shiny MKX power armor fresh from Cole's factory. After years of brutal warfare, Primaris Tacticus armor desperately needs some patching up. Helmets, shoulder pads, greaves, replaced with whatever's available. And the result? A really nice nostalgic callback to older Space Marine designs. So, does the mini tell that story? Honestly, yeah, I like this new design. There's something super satisfying about that retro touch, and it fits perfectly with the lore. You could even swap parts to match your favorite style, and it would still make sense. Kid bash galore. The pose is strong, confident, super clean, super readable silhouette. See, that's why I love the no cape look. That's so crisp. The details are nice too, purity seals on the weapon and on the leg, nothing crazy but very clean execution. But, small complaint, I get why they don't sculpt battle damage, it gives hobbyists freedom. But, for a story about attrition, I really hope the kit includes some damage armor option. That will push the narrative even further. I mean, worst case scenario, you grab a needle and a lighter and commit war crimes yourself. Goblin Chaos time! I cannot not be the only one. I would never attach my weapon strap twisted like this. Someone straighten it up, please. Now, let's see what their orc counterpart has to offer. We get 20 boys in this box, including 2 boss knobs. GW is really pushing that green tide feeling. Let's start with the boss knobs. And you know orc law. If you wanna lead the boys... No, I'm a professional. If you wanna lead them boys, you gotta be bigger, stronger, flashier. And as a bonus, you get that good loot. Custom shooter, big chopper, trophy rack. Both started his own collection with an MK7 Space Marine helmet. Dude's treating Armageddon like a Games Workshop store. Wait, look at him. Teeny tiny little friend. That's it. Emotionally support squid. I'm sold. Gimme. What? Fine. Does the mini tell that story? I have mixed feeling about this one. The pose is a bit meh, but spread arms like this means super readable silhouette. The weapons are so clean, and the details insane. Also that paint job. The weather checkerboard, damn that looks good. However, I do see the similarity problem you guys were afraid of. This lad and the last orc boss? Yeah, same base mushroom. They're definitely brothers who have the same dentist and they both love pets. Let's just hope the next one aren't that similar. Also, I hope he's not planning on sitting in those pants. That looks painful, y'all. And honestly, I like this alternate version a lot too. This silhouette works really well here. Yes, the leg pose is a bit similar, and yes, there's a little overlap in places, but who cares? Tiny squig. Now, what about the boys themselves? Apparently, our favorite muscly green menace just discovered multitasking. Good job, boys. Gork and Mork are proud. Now they can carry a chopper, a slugger, and a shooter into battle, meaning they can absolutely shred beaky lines before going in for a proper cramping. But does the mini tell that story? Yes, I think they all look amazing. The variety here is great, be it silhouette, poses, or even equipment. You get different choppers, custom shooters, heavy armor, light armor, and even naked torsos. They all look goofy and terrifying. Like this guy. Buddy, this is a terrible idea. And yet, I cannot see an orc pull the pin on a grenade any other way. And yes, even more bonus points. Because in addition to the 2 boss knobs, 2 boys also have tiny squigs. And I still think they painted their nails, and this is hilarious. So, are the boys incredibly fun and varied? Absolutely! Does that automatically make them better than the Intercessors? Not really, because both units tell their story extremely well. One side is disciplined to a fault and filled with righteous fury. The other is very goofy and yet very enthusiastic about cramping. And somehow, both work perfectly, so for me, this one is another draw. Which leads us to a quick analysis of the new Gretchin, which unsurprisingly do not have an equivalent among the Emperor's giant super soldier. But what's their deal? Ah, my kin, the little grots. Tiny thieving scavengers who can somehow gang up and mug an unsuspecting space marines. Be careful, no ammo, Arnold. They are surprisingly good shots and excellent for sneaking onto objectives when nobody's paying attention. So, does the mini tell the story? Absolutely. Yes, I noticed the ears are smaller now. Who clipped my kin's ear, GW, you monsters? But honestly, I still love these little guys. It is genuinely difficult to fail at goofy goblin-coded mini. The silhouettes were great, the poses and faces are expressive. Also the fact that each grot has 2 build options adds significant variety to the unit. And of course, mandatory bonus point for the hair squig. Very proper, mon ami Gretchin. So, what is my final conclusion about this Armageddon box? With 5 victories for the Orks and 3 draws, it might look like I'm hating on the Space Marines. But honestly, I think the issue is more profound than that. The Orks introduce minis we haven't seen in ages, or completely new concepts altogether. Meanwhile, Astartes, especially Ultramarine, are the poster boys of Warhammer 40k, so naturally it's harder to get hyped for another Space Marine release. Do I think it's impossible to surprise us with Space Marines? Absolutely not. And honestly, that's what makes this a little frustrating. You guys know I love Space Marines. I play Space Wolf. Yes, I enjoy my Iron Brew Space Viking werewolves. So I was hyped for the Astartes in this box. But the Orks? Their designs are way more interesting to me. It genuinely feels like more thought went into them. Especially when you look at the strange missing details on the Space Marine side. And yes, criticizing is easy, so what should they have done better? This is obviously very subjective, but I think they really needed to lean way harder into the Armageddon story itself, make the Astartes feel more unique to this campaign, and then include neutral option in the box for hobbyists who want flexibility. Because GW already releases generic Space Marines constantly, they have to stay relatively neutral so every chapter can use them. But if you try to tell a cool new Blood Angel story, while also keeping everything ultra generic, it doesn't hit as hard. I can even give some ideas. Optional jump pack wings for the veteran. Some damage variants too, that would have looked so cool. And if you want the classic look, just leave them off. Unique chest pieces inspired by Blood Angel iconography. Even just 1 or 2 per kit would already add so much personality. You could even explain it in the lore. Most of them had to abandon their Balit armor because of the brutal attrition in Armageddon. Prosthetic options would also have been amazing, especially for characters and heroes like the Captain or the Chaplain, the Ancient, and please give us cooler bases. Adds bits from destroyed Ork vehicles, broken machinery, something, because GW has already proven they can do highly thematic bases in previous campaign boxes. And yes, mandatory smoke hate! Salty Pinky G is not letting this go. But despite all that, will I buy this box? Of course I will. Who are we kidding? The Orks are fantastic and the sculpting quality across the whole box is genuinely very high. It's just becoming really difficult to surprise people with Space Marines without going all out on creativity. And honestly, I'm good at 3D modeling. I already know I'm going to customize the heck out of these Marines. That Chaplain and Warboss are getting new bases immediately, but even if you don't own a 3D printer or don't use green stuff, there's still plenty of fun to be had here. At the end of the day, you shouldn't let your critical artist brain stop you from enjoying cool minis, especially if this is your first box to build and play with a friend. Though honestly it's going to be very difficult to decide who gets to play the Orks. If you watched all the way to the end, you are amazing, merci beaucoup. Drop 3 hearts in the comments so I know you made it this far. Leave a like, it will make the short-haired Gretchin happy and fill my goblin heart with sweet dopamine. Subscribe to join the Gobelin Gang and as always, bonne chance with your hobby les amis.